And we do welcome you to the C&C Auto Show. I'm Aaron Clements, and I'm your driver. Jump in, buckle up, and let's talk about some cars. I'll share some tips on making and keeping your car safe, dependable, and long-lasting as we ride. And I've got something special to talk about today. It's a question that a lot of us are faced with from time to time, and it requires a lot of thought. Very important decision, could be a long-term decision, and you may be faced with it at times. And that's to keep it or sell it. And that's always a tough decision when you have a vehicle, and for whatever reason, you might have had it for a long period of time, and it is due for some major stuff, and you're trying to make that decision. Well, should I keep this car? Or should I spend money on repairs, or should I purchase another vehicle? And there's a lot of decision making there. There's a lot of variables that need to be plugged in so you can make the right decision. So we'll talk about some of those so you can keep them stored way in the back of your mind somewhere. And then if that question ever comes up or you have to make that decision, then you will have that information stored so that you can retrieve it and make the right decision. So we'll be giving you a lot of information on things to do with that, and all of this information is absolutely free. You just have to pay shipping and handling, and you don't want to miss out on our Ask One question and get the second question free. You can just pay shipping and handling, and that's all that's required. Give me a call, 800-224 9090. You can also watch or listen to the show on your favorite platform by going to ccautoShow.com. We always crank up with a tech tip quiz, and of course the winner will receive a prize package, and in that prize package there will be a C&C Auto Show coffee mug, which is actually a memorabilia so that you can remember actually answering the question and winning. And it's something you can put in your trophy case or whatever you normally do. Okay, here's the question. Bill bought a used car. He did something when he was buying the car that saved him over $1,000. What did he do? And if you know the answer to that, you give us a call. And again, that number, 800-224-9090. Okay, we'll go ahead and crank out the first tip having to do with keep it or sell it, that decision. First, you want to find out what your car does need. And the best way to do that would be an inspection on the vehicle. If you suspect that it might need some large repairs, then you may want to have it checked out, find out what it is, how much we're talking here. I mean, are you talking something that's $200, $400, $500, $2,000, $5,000? You want the correct number to work with, and don't just automatically pay off or play off of emotion. And many times, if it turns out to be something big, you may want to get a second opinion. Not too long ago, we had a vehicle come in. I think this was it was a Ford Ranger truck. That was it. Come in, and this vehicle, when it got up to a certain temperature, it would just start bubbling out the overflow. And I mean, it was really bad. I mean, it didn't have to get real hot, and it was just bubbling all over. And he was told that the head gasket was bad. And of course, the only reason that I went this other direction is because I had run into this before. But I got the truck in, I started running a few tests on the vehicle, and when I did, I found that the radiator cap was not holding pressure. And the only thing that keeps water from boiling on a vehicle, because normal operating temperature is usually somewhere around 210, anywhere from 210, 220 on up to 225. What keeps it from boiling is the pressure that's on the system. So I tested the radiator cap. It was absolutely no good, wasn't holding any pressure on the system, and put a radiator cap on there, and it increased the pressure, made it where it could build up to the 14 PSI, and then in doing that, boom, no more boiling, no more overflowing, and everything was good. So if you got something big and you're not absolutely sure and it's not being explained well on what's there, you may want a second opinion on that. Okay, we're going to go to the calls, and we will go over to, let's see here. Let's go over to, is this, okay, hold on one second here. I got my little mouse that pushes the button's not doing right. Okay, what did he did? And I want to talk about the 2009 Honda Civic air conditioner. Okay,
Good morning.
welcome to the C&C Auto Show.
Thank you so much. I was using air conditioning the other day and then put it on defrost
Mhm.
and went to switch it to the vents to come towards me, and it wouldn't work. So I think it's the actuator problem, and I need your opinion on that.
Yeah, this is an '09 Honda Civic. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And is this the first time it's really acted up for you? It's been working great, and then all of a sudden, boom, it acted up.
Well, every now and then it would act up, but it would go away. But now it's just totally bad.
Okay. High probability that is the actuator itself going bad. You might get a little bit more time out of it by possibly disconnecting your battery for about 15 or 20 seconds and then connect it back. Now, I don't do this real often. A lot of times, anything that comes up, people say, disconnect the battery, connect it back up. It's not really good to do that on a regular basis. But from time to time, it can be helpful, and this could be one of those cases. And what can happen is the computer might have lost track of exactly where that is, and it might need to do a reset procedure. So after you do that, then put it on AC, then put it on defrost, put it on vent, move the controls each way, and then move your temperature door from hot to cold, and then see if it starts working. If it don't, there's going to be about a 90% chance it's the actuator, but you don't want to just automatically assume that. One of two things: a technician can run some tests. They plug a computer to it, and they request, and that's what you're doing when you want defrost or want air to blow on you. You no longer are cutting it on air or defrost. You're requesting it from your computer, and your computer's going to make the decision on whether to give it to you or not. So if it's in a good mood, it might give it to you. If it's not, it might not. But even if it wants to give it to you and that actuator's bad, it can't because that actuator's not moving the door. But a technician will test all that and then let you know, yes, in fact, the next step is to take the actuator, go to the actuator and test it right there at that spot. And if it's bad, then replace it. I was trying to stall a little bit so I could try to remember if that's one that you got to take a large portion of the dash off to get to. And I believe there is the possibility that you will. It's kind of, on some AC actuators, it's fairly small part, but they kind of lay it on the floor and then they build the car around it. So it's like a ball of twine. It's in the center, and you got to take everything apart to get in there. But and that could be the case on that one. But that's what I would recommend.
All righty. Thank you so much, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, and you have a fantastic day. And we are I'm going to go ahead and give another tip on having to do with the keep it or sell it. First, you decide if it does what you want it to do. When you're making that decision, do you want to keep this car? Do you want to sell this car? The first thing you want to do is, hey, does this car do, let's say that it was in tip-top condition, just like I wanted it to be. Does it do everything I need it to do? I mean, if you're pulling a boat and you've got a Honda, then it's probably not going to work well. If you've got if you need a 6-passenger vehicle and you've only got a 2-seater, then that probably won't work well. So work it out and see if it's the car that you need before you start investing the money, and let that be part of the equation to go with. Okay, we need to pull over for now, but I will be back on the road very shortly. be giving me a call. And again, that number is 800-224-9090. That's Saturday mornings, 8:05 to 10 Eastern time. You can also go to ccautoshow.com and pick out a platform and watch the show. We'll be right back. And I'm back with you with the C&C Auto Show. You give me a call, 800-224-9090. That's on any Saturday morning, 8:05 to 10. You can also visit ccautoshow.com, pick out a platform, and watch the show or listen in other ways, your favorite platform. Okay, give me a call, join the show, and we will go over to, let's go to John over in Martinez. Hey, John, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Well, Aaron, I want to try the tech tip.
Oh, John, you know what I need to do first before you do that? You have to be on the stage. Okay, here we go.
Make me look silly.
All right, and remove the sunglasses, and I'm going to read the tech tip quiz real quickly so that we'll all be on the same page. Short and sweet. Bill bought a used car. He did something when he was buying the car that saved him over $1,000. What did he do?
Well, I'm thinking that he's doing what I did. He brought it into C&C and had everything mechanically gone over and corrected. And then he took it down to a detail shop and had it all cleaned up, and maybe, whatever, he spent a couple $1,000s and just kept his car.
Oh, John, you got could that be possible? Let me let the judges see what they think. And
thank you very much.
They seem to be excited about it, and the crowd is going wild. And you're absolutely right. Bill bought the car from himself, and actually it saved it more than just $1,000. It saved him many, many thousands of dollars. He had planned to sell the car, but because it needed a timing belt and water pump and tires, and this would run, I would say, in the range of about $2,000. And the car he was buying was $26,000. So he had his car repaired. He had a little bit of upholstery work done to the car, did a few cosmetic items on there, had a little tear in the seat and a little place on the dash. He had all that repaired, and then he had a complete detail done to the car because he was actually planning on selling it at the time. He was going to fix this baby up and sell it and then get this other one. Well, after he did the repairs and all those cosmetic items, he fell back in love with the car, and then they lived happily ever after. So a lot of times you may get tired of a car because you think it needs this and needs that. And here's what's tricky. A lot of times people that do that, they'll have a car that just needs some tender loving care, maybe a maintenance tune-up. It may be due for a timing belt, maybe have a little upholstery work and not quite as clean as it should be. So they'll trade it in. And then when they trade it in, either the individual that buys it or the company that buys it do all those things to it and sell it for a huge amount of money because now it's got appeal. So if you're thinking about fixing your car up anyway, do all the things that you would normally do and then consider, then take a fresh look at the car. Many times you can like it. And John, you are the winner. And of course, you'll get a C&C Auto Show coffee mug. And if you already have one of those, I will get you a special C&C Auto Show shirt. So it'll be one of the two. And I really appreciate you calling in and answering the Tech Tip quiz.
Well, Aaron, I'll see you next week.
Sounds great. And I appreciate it. And have a wonderful, wonderful day. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Let's see here. I'm getting used to a new phone system, working out beautiful, though. I love it. We have Neil that's wants to mention a few things about a catalytic converter. Let's go over to him. Neil, welcome to the C&C Auto Show, and what can we help you with?
Good morning, first-time caller.
Well, thank you for calling. Welcome, and
my-
hop in and let's ride.
Okay, thanks. Well, my engine light came on the car that's been really reliable, and took it to one of those places, had it analyzed. They said it's a catalytic converter, and or one of the components. And I found out that there's some kind of liquid you could buy to clear up the problem because it was bogging down. You step on the accelerator,
Mm-hmm.
and I disconnected the battery cable so that the engine light would go out, and I put it on like after 30 seconds, and that reset it, and I'm cruising along for a day or two, and then boom, engine light comes on again.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd done this twice with this expensive additive that was like around $27.
Mm-hmm.
And am I destined to have to get a catalytic converter at this point?
Mm-hmm.
And
Now, I am
if I continue
assuming,
to ride,
yeah, I'm assuming that the code that they're getting out of the vehicle says catalytic converter inefficiency code. Does that sound right?
okay,
All right.
that sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay. Now, if it is that code, it is either the catalytic converter or the O2 sensors. More often than not, it's the catalytic converter, but we recommend doing the O2 at the same time. There's a front O2 and rear O2. What make and model is this car again?
I've done those already.
Oh, okay. Good.
This is I've done the O2 sensors already, so it must be the catalytic converter. It is a 2012 Nissan Rogue, and I have almost 160,000 miles on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What's your recommendation?
Okay, recommendation is if you're getting a catalytic inefficiency code, it will need a catalytic converter. Now, you've tried partially some of the things I normally mention. There's a lot of times there's a system called, it's done at a professional shop. They don't sell it at in individual cases to the public, but it's a BG fuel induction service that actually it's got a little mister that blows this chemical through the engine, lets it burn through, and that goes through the engine and cleans the intake system, the top of the valves, top of the pistons, goes through, cleans the O2 sensor, cleans the catalytic converter. But if you've tried two of those others, I wouldn't go spending more money on that. And I would, if the technician has looked at that converter and is saying it's not efficiency, because that converter code, hey, can I put you on? Oh, wait, I got a guest coming up in a little bit. That converter code would mean that you need a converter, every indication.
Okay. Best guess on how much the actual converter is?
Yeah, can I put you on hold just a second?
Sure.
And I'll be right back after these messages. And we welcome you back to the C&C Auto Show. And we've got Neil back on the line. Neil, we discussed your converter issue. And I would recommend, since the catalytic converter is a fairly expensive item, if you hadn't done this, do get a technician to look at the readings that he's getting from that vehicle, the parameter readings, and a scope reading. What he'll probably see if the converter is bad is that the front oxygen sensor will show a certain sine wave. It'll be from 0 to 1 volts, and it'll move kind of rapidly up and down. And then if he looks at the back one, after the converter, and it looks very similar to the same thing, that means that the catalytic converter is not effective and definitely does need to be replaced. And that will give you more of a sure reading. And with that, prices on catalytic converters vary so much. There are some that you can get some aftermarket catalytic converters. Is the reason I say that. But they do vary from car to car. But I see prices ranging anywhere from the $600 range, and you do see some that go as high as $1,500, $2,000. But in most cases, I see them somewhere between the $600 and $1,200 range.
Are aftermarket worth buying?
Yes, I have used aftermarket catalytic converters, and they have worked well.
Okay. Another quick question. What are the consequences of not replacing the catalytic converter?
Now, if you live in an area that has emission testing, you would not be able to pass your emission test to be able to get the sticker. If you don't live in an area with an emission test, now don't tell anybody I said this, but it will have absolutely nothing to do with the running of the vehicle. So yes, that does, the computer does not look at that code to make any adjustment. It lets you know that your catalytic converter is not effective.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, very good. Because I was just thinking, if I have almost 160,000 miles, and I maintain the car and everything, is it worth putting in $1,500? And the car might be worth $6,000.
Well, and that's why you may want to check on that aftermarket, and you may find that it's much more reasonable. On many cars, I recommend getting a factory, but on that particular one, an aftermarket, I've seen some pretty good prices on those. But again, it's not going to cause the car to break down and not going to cause something else to go bad if you have a catalytic converter efficiency code stored in there.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Okay.
Okay. Well, yes, sir. Thank you for your time.
Hey, Neil, I appreciate you calling, man. Thank you. All right. Okay, and we have a special guest here with us, and with that, this is a wonderful chance and opportunity to get to talk to someone, and we have, let's see here, we've got important message. We got Mr. Gene Triplett on the line with us, and he'll have opportunity to give us an important message about some parts that often get overlooked on the brake system when you're either doing a brake job yourself or if you're having someone do the brake work for you. Many times these items get overlooked, and we have Gene Triplett, Vice President of Engineering and Quality of International Brake Industries. And International Brake Industries started doing business in 1967, and they are the #1 aftermarket supplier of brake hardware in North America, including the Carlson Brake brand of brake hardware. And Gene, I would like to welcome you to the C&C Auto Show.
Aaron, thank you very much, and good morning.
Well, good morning to you. I'm getting used to a totally new phone system here, and I'm sitting here trying to work this thing and figure it out as I'm talking. And I think I got it now. It's working, and I appreciate it. I so much appreciate you being here with us. Very nice of you. And I've thought about this many times. There's the brake hardware is so important to a beautiful job. So I'll start out by asking you, when people think of replacing the brakes, they only think of the pads and the rotors, but I don't think that's the whole picture, is it?
No, Aaron, it's not. And the braking system is a very important part of the vehicle. It keeps the individual safe, and it keeps the vehicle safe. And every single time that you press that brake pedal, you're putting heat and friction back into the system. And over time, you're wearing that braking system out. So the average person is looking at the pads and the rotors, and it's very obvious that they need to be replaced or they've been used up over time. But what isn't so obvious is the brake hardware. And the brake hardware is actually, with all that friction and heat that's going in the system, it is also wearing right along with those pads and rotors. And so it is highly recommended to keep the vehicle running as close to OEM quality, is to replace not only the pads and the rotors, but also to replace that hardware.
Yeah, and I agree 100% as a person who has been exposed to a shop for many, many years. Now, there was a time where you would do brake jobs. It wasn't uncommon to see at 20, 30,000 miles, you would need a complete brake job. and the springs would stay in fairly good shape. But now brakes, they're under they have so much more heat than they had before. The cars are more powerful, brake components smaller, lighter, and so because of things like that, and the brake, you want the brake system to last a long, long time now before you have to do your next brake job. So many times those brake hardwares they get weak before it's time for the next one. What parts do you feel? What parts make up the brake hardware, and how do they work with the pads and rotors?
So there's there's two different types of braking systems, right? There's the disc brakes, and then you have the drum brakes. So when you're looking at disc brakes, it's not only those little clips that the pads ride on, but also you've got bushings and pin boots and guide pins are all part of making that caliper and the system work properly. If you're talking about drum brakes, they're the springs and the pins. So all of those are very critical in the activity of running the brakes, and how they interact is very important. So for example, if a guide pin is reused and it gets rusty or it gets damaged in any way, you're going to see a potential of uneven wear on your pads, or even premature wear on those pads. And that's not a good thing. I mean, this is an inexpensive addition to the brake job to replace all that hardware, and you've gone out and spent considerable amount of money for your pads and your rotors. You want to not have them prematurely wear as you go through the life of the vehicle. You want them to last as long as you possibly can, so you don't have to do another brake job anytime soon.
Yes. And Gene, I as a person who is in the shop a large amount of time, I see technicians that they'll have a person to bring a car in for a brake noise, and they'll look through the wheel and they'll see the front pad, and it'll look real good. And I know that if that slide pin sticks, then that front pad could look perfect, and the inside pad could be worn completely out. So I tell them, let's pull the wheels, because it might need slide pins also, or the slide pins may be sticking. So that I've seen that many, many times, and that's one of the reasons I tell the technician, pull the wheels off if they've got a brake noise, because something is wrong. Slide pins, hardware, something's got to be there. Jim, I'm gonna take a quick break, and I'm gonna be back with you in just very shortly. Be right back. And we're back with you with the C&C Auto Show, and I've got a special guest here with us today. And we have Gene Triplett, Vice President of Engineering, Quality, and International Brake Industries. International Brake Industries started doing business in 1967, and they are number one in the aftermarket supplier today, and that's including the Carlson brand of brake hardware. And we, Gene, welcome back. And we have Gene, welcome back.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right. Gene, we were talking about brake hardware and how important it is on the vehicle. And by the way, I appreciate you being here with us today, because I think this will be helpful to a lot of people. We get a lot of people that enjoy working on their own vehicles, so this will be great information for them. But we also have a lot of professional technicians that listen to this, and definitely it'll make a difference with them also. What can happen if you install new pads and rotors without replacing the brake hardware?
Well, Aaron, when you look at the brake hardware itself, a lot of times, like the clips in the brake hardware are they're stainless steel, so they're going to look good, but you do need to replace them, as you stated, and they're out of spec. And so what happens there is that after a period of time, that first brake job, when you're replacing your rotors and your pads, those hardwares need to be replaced, because if they're out of spec, you could get noise, you could get premature wear, or even uneven wear to those pads. So all of those things, all of that hardware may look good. It is designed to do that. It's designed to last the length of that first job, but it really does need to be replaced. We've done enough studies to show that Many of those items are out of spec and required to be replaced to continue to allow the vehicle to run as close to OE level as possible.
And Gene, that's one of the reasons we recommend brake hardware on a regular basis, because as a professional automotive shop, you don't want to have to do the job twice because
Yeah.
you don't come out good on that. Jim, purchasing all the parts that make up the hardware can be a tedious task, but Carlson has just introduced something new. Tell us about the brake job completion kit.
Well, depending upon your application or your vehicle, you could, to get all of the proper hardware, could be anywhere from 2 different kits all the way up to 5 different kits. And those kits are ranged. When you go to the store to buy them, you may miss something. Not everybody knows all of the kits that you need. So what we've done with Carlson brake job completion kit is we put all of those kits into one box. So if you know your application, you go out and you look for it on to purchase it. When you receive that box, you're going to get all of those, that 2 kits or the 5 kits, depending upon your application. We also threw in some sandpaper, some brake cleaner, and grease, and a shop rag. So now you have everything in one box that to do the whole entire job. You won't need to do anything else. It should be taken care of right there for you.
Well, Gene, for the professional automotive repair facilities, that means they save a lot of time having to do things as far as making a lot of phone calls, tracking down these parts individually. And of course, time is money to a professional automotive repair shop. And for a person who might be doing a brake job at home and really wants to do the good quality job, it'll save about probably 4 or 5 trips to the parts place to pick up all of these individually, or having to wait days on something to come in that they might need. So I think that is so wonderful to have everything all in one kit. Where can listeners go for more information on where they can purchase the Carlson brake job completion kit?
So you can purchase the kits on Amazon, as well as you can go to www.carlsonqualitybrakeparts.com. We have a list of all of the applications and vehicles out there, but we're also adding kits all the time. So if, for example, if you can't find the kit that works for your application, send a note in. We can help you tell you what those how many kits that you need to buy, and give you some direction there. But it also identifies to us what we may need to add soon. So we'll continue to add. We're going to continue to expand this offering out there for the population, and see where it goes. So,
Gene, one thing that we had a contest here not too long ago. I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks back, and it was the person, they had to make the most accurate brake noise that they could make. And squealing noise. I'm talking about when their brakes are making a squealing noise. Now, if a large number of people would do the complete hardware, and like you mentioned, the slide pins and all the things that need to be done, there would be very few squeak noises, because that's pretty much what the squeak is either weak hardware or springs or something in that area causing the problem. So having that hardware can be great. I am so glad that there's a product like this on the market, so that we're able to get everything at one time. Because like I mentioned, time is money when we're working on vehicles. And Gene, want to say thank you so much for joining us on the C&C Auto Show. And I know that the information that you've given will help a lot of people. And a lot of people they'll have better, longer lasting brakes, and we appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time today as well, and thank you for having me on.
Oh, Gene, I enjoyed talking. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
All right. Thank you. You as well.
Bye-bye. Okay. That was Gene Triplett with Carlson Brakes, and with a great product. And that is a way to get all of your brake hardware and the little springs and the slide pins and all those hard to find little things all in one kit. So if you plan to do a brake job or you're having a brake job done at a professional place, I highly recommend going ahead and doing those things, because you don't want to have to do the next brake job early because of either a noise or unusual wear or things like that. So great idea. Okay, and that all goes hand in hand with the question: do you plan to keep your vehicle, or do you plan to sell your vehicle? And there's a lot of things that you may want to do, place in the hat as far as making that decision. And one of the things that you should ask yourself is if you like the car. Most people spend a fair amount of time in their car, and they don't want to drive something that you just don't like. Now, every car I've had through the years, and I keep cars a long, long time. Every car that I've had, I've liked except one. that one, I don't know why I didn't like that car. And I've had all types of cars. I've had Honda Accords, I've had MG Midgets, I've had Nissan 280Zs, I've had so many cars. It's crazy, and I normally keep each one of them a long time. Some of them, at times, I've had 3, 4, 5 cars at one time. But for whatever reason, at one time I had a Chrysler minivan, and it had this wood grain on the side. The van drove good, never acted up, was just all in all a good mechanical vehicle, but I just didn't like it. So if I was making that decision on whether to keep it or sell it, of course, that would be a strike against that one, that I just didn't like it. And so that's what I did. But on other cars, as I'm trying to make that decision, should I keep it? And if I like the vehicle, then my next step is, hey, does it do what I need it to do? And if it does do the things I need it to do, then how much will I need to spend on this vehicle to make it do what I want it to and make it good, safe, dependable? And I mix all those things together, and then I weigh out, if it does what I need it to do I want to keep this vehicle? And so that's something else that you want to think about in there. And then, of course, you want to find out if the bones, when you want to make that decision, are the bones of the car good? Is the frame and body intact? And is it clear of rust? And in some areas, that can be a big concern. And all of that should play a part in the decision-making process. And if you don't feel good about the bones of the vehicle, it might be a reason that you may just want to sell the vehicle. Okay, we are out of time. The time clock's on E. Need to pull over for now, but I will be back on the road in no time. I'm your host, Aaron Clements. Our show producers, Mason Rogers and Anthony Massino. And we would like to say thank you for riding with the C&C Auto Show, and we'll be back shortly. And we do welcome you to the C&C Auto Show. I'm Aaron Clements, and I'm your driver, so you can jump in, buckle those seatbelts, and let's talk about cars. I'll share some tips on making and keeping your car safe, dependable, and long-lasting as we ride. And have you ever been faced with a decision on whether to keep it or sell it? I'm talking about your car. Sometimes it's not an easy decision. And along with answering those automotive questions today during the show, I'll give you some information on how to make the decision that is right for you. And all of this information is absolutely free. You pay shipping and handling, and that is it. We do have a ask one question, get one question free going on also. So just call 800-224-9090, and you can watch or listen to the show on your favorite platform by going to ccautoshow.com. And we always like to start the show with a tech tip quiz. So we'll do that. The winner will receive a prize package, which includes a C&C Auto Show coffee mug, among other things in there. Bill works in construction and drives a 2020 Chevrolet 1500 truck. He lives out in the country, about 45 minutes out from the city, and he's found that he consistently gets better fuel mileage driving to town to go to the gym as he does during the weekdays when he's driving to work. Why? And if you know the answer to that, you give us a call, and we will be ready to bestow you with the I Answer the Tech Tip Quiz shirt or coffee mug, whichever one comes up. Okay. We have been talking about vehicles and whether you should keep a car or trade a car in. And I have something that may be something to think about anyway. More and more people are opting to repair their existing car as opposed to buying a new car. Let's say that you have a car that is it has about 150,000 miles, and you've taken good care of the vehicle through the years, but it needs a transmission. And let's say the transmission is $4,000. You may say that the car, well, it's not worth $4,000, so you decide not to do it. And you know that you're not the car's not going to increase in value $4,000 by putting the transmission in there, but you're not paying for the increase in the value of the car. You're paying for good, dependable transportation. So if you spend $4,000 to repair the vehicle and drive it for a couple of more years, and then sell the car for $3,000, you've paid $1,000 to drive a car for 2 years, as opposed to having car payments and higher insurance. Now, I'm not saying that there definitely don't come a time that it's time to trade a car. Sometimes that happens either because one don't do what you need it to do, it don't look like you want it to look, or it's not as large as you need it to be. But I wouldn't let the price of a repair be the sole decision maker on whether to repair a car or not, because you're paying for transportation in the long run. Okay, let's go to the calls. We will go over to. Yes, welcome to the C&C Auto Show.
Yes.
Oh, we might have lost one. Okay, the phone. Let's see here. I'm gonna go here again. Welcome to the C&C Auto Show. Okay. We have some unusual phone systems. We need to put the phone system in and have some repairs made on that. So we're talking about keeping a car or the possibility of trading a vehicle or getting a different vehicle. And of course, I mentioned that there's a lot of different decisions to make on that part of it, or a lot of things that you want to put into the decision-making process in there. And in doing that.
Son.
Hello?
Huh? Hello, yes.
Yeah, welcome to the C&C Auto Show. Could I help you?
Oh, yeah, I thought I was talking to you already.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I was just talking to... Okay, well, anyway, my...
Yeah, the, let's see here. That one is going in and out. Okay, we're having other phone issues, and we are talking about keeping a car or trading a car in, and again, many times it makes you need to make a decision on if you like the car, if it does what you want it to do, and then make that decision on how much you necessarily need to spend on a car. Or spend on that car to make it as well as you want it to be, to make it safe, dependable, and all of the things that it might need. So you want to ask yourself: are there safety features on other cars that you don't have on this car? For instance, if your neck does not turn as well as it used to, in other words, you might. For whatever reason, have a lot more trouble turning around, or you just feel like a backup camera would be much safer for you to have. you may look at it as your existing car does not have a backup camera, but the one that you are looking at does. That may be a reason why you might say, well, I will trade because there's safety features that I don't have that I'd like to have. And that could be like lane departure warnings, backup cameras, special cruise control type features. So there's a lot of different things that you would want to look at in that area also to make the decision on whether you should get another car or not. Now, the other thing that you would want to do, now this is whether you plan to sell your existing vehicle or keep your existing vehicle. It's a good idea to consider doing a good wash and wax on your vehicle from time to time, because if you're thinking about selling your vehicle, then no doubt a good wash and wax and really doing things to make it look extra good will also help to make the vehicle last a lot, to be more fun to drive, but also if you start to sell it, it'll make it worth more. So either way, you'll come out good. Okay, we're going to go to the calls. And welcome to
hello?
the C&C Auto Show. Is this Phyllis?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we're having a few phone issues there. What can I help you with today?
Okay, I want to attempt to answer the question about the teenager. The best advice that they could give the teenager would be to turn off the phone altogether before driving, because if something should come up, you can always turn it back on if you have a flat tire or something. And besides that, it could be scammers or telemarketers that are calling. And that way we prevent any kind of accident at all. And that's my best advice would be to just turn it off altogether.
All
And,
right. And Phyllis, you are
the other concern.
you're listening to our Tech Tip quiz that we had, and that Tech Tip quiz had to be had to do with them doing something that made it to where it saved their teenager from having an accident. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I think the best thing to do is turn off the phone altogether.
Yes.
Because it could be a telemarketer or a scammer that might be calling. And I sure hate to have a wreck just to answer that kind of a phone, call. And so I think my suggestion is to turn the phone off altogether. And what I do, I feel like I'm too stupid to use a smartphone, so I use a jitterbug phone. Because I'll be turning 84 next month, and I feel a lot safer using that,
Oh, Phyllis.
Because I don't use all those apps that's on there and all that.
Phyllis, I'm gonna tell you don't sound 84, and it sounds like you still love to drive.
Thank you.
And a lot of other things.
I don't love to drive. I hate to drive.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna let you hold just a little bit. I'm gonna put you on hold for a second, but I want you to be thinking about if the person wouldn't cut their phone off, what can be done to make it to where they are not able to get a text while they're drive. So I'm going to put you on hold, be right back. And we are back with you with the C&C Auto Show, and I'm here with Phyllis, and she has answered last week's Tech Tip quiz, which was the parents did something to a vehicle, to their son's vehicle, that probably saved him from having an accident. And Phyllis, you had mentioned the answer was to cut the phone off. And actually, you are so close, so you're going to be the winner of the Tech Tip quiz. And what they did, there is a system that you can get with many cell phone carriers. I know AT&T definitely has it, to where you can make it to where if the vehicle is moving, they cannot receive a text or a phone call. And then it lets the person who's calling know that that person's driving and they can't accept it. So you are the winner, and congratulations. And you mentioned you might have a question also.
Yes. I have an adult son. He's had this, he's mentally challenged. He can't read or write. And he has been tutored by somebody who helped him for a while, but that didn't seem to work, and that person isn't located here in where I live right now. And I know there's a system that teaches illiterate adults, more way of doing things according to their age, not Dick and Jane like we're familiar with as a child, but it's things more of their age level, things that they have interest in.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't seem to have worked yet either. And I'll be turning 84 next month, and I'm concerned about what's going to become of my son when I die. And he's held the same job now for 30 years, same location, the same boss. And, of course, the so-called experts say he'd never be able to do this, but he has proved them wrong.
Uh-huh.
And he was in the adult literacy class along with those working for their GEDs. And they just spent time helping the GED students and wouldn't even pay any attention to the adult ones that were in there for adult literacy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm concerned about that,
Okay.
And,
yeah, I can understand your concern.
I think,
and it sounds like you're doing a wonderful job trying to do everything that you can to help in that area. And of course, there's I think that the possibility of touching base with one of the local colleges or one of the medical facilities there, and just let them know what's going on, because I feel like that you would be able to get some help in that department on making the good decision. And I will say that it is awesome that you're you're 84 and you still drive. Is that correct?
yes, sir. But I had a wake-up call about 2 weeks ago. Luckily, nobody was injured. Just my car was damaged, minor damage. It still drives. I can still drive it. But I feel like that was a wake-up call to let me know to be more careful,
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm trying to do right now, be as careful as I can.
Yeah.
And I won't not go into any details about it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I feel very fortunate that nobody was injured. I couldn't live with myself if I hurt anybody or killed anybody. I mean, I could never live with myself for something like that. So I'm glad that never happened. Thank goodness. Thank God for that not happening.
Yeah.
And I pray a lot, okay?
Yeah.
And I have other, conditions that I'm concerned about, but I'm not going to go into that. But anyway, I just want to what's best for my son when I'm no longer around.
Yeah.
See, that's what main concern right now.
Yeah. Well, Phyllis,
he works at a grocery store. Like I said, he's been there for 30 years. They've changed the name of the store several times, but he still has the same boss. The customers love him. His fellow employees love him. And he's very happy, and I never have to force him to get out of bed to go to work, because he gets out of bed with a big smile on his face because he loves working.
Well, Phyllis, it sounds like you're doing a wonderful job there, and that is so awesome that he has the great attitude, and I'm sure that's because of you helping so much, and I think that's a really good thing. Just a real quick thing, what area are you from? Where do you live?
I live in Griffin, Georgia.
Griffin, Georgia.
Southern part of Georgia, near Atlanta.
Well, Phyllis, I'm gonna tell you, congratulations on winning the Tech Tip quiz, and congratulations on having such a fantastic attitude. And to me, that's one of the things. So we very much appreciate your call too.
I appreciate you. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you. Okay, that is great to hear from Phyllis. 84 years old, driving, doing well, and doing everything she can to help her son. Okay, we're still talking about things that can be done, or things that you want to put in the equation if you're thinking about selling a car or keeping a car. And there's actually a lot of decisions to be made. One thing that a lot of times people think can't be repaired on a vehicle, and it's a reason why many times they'll just go sell a vehicle instead of having to even think about it or worry about it. And that's different things to do with the interior of a vehicle. The seats might get cracked, or the seats might get dirty, and there's a lot of great things that can be done in that area. One, finding a good upholstery shop is a great step. And having a great relationship with an upholstery shop, because many times they can make the seats look like new again. You can actually put new new seat covers on the seat. If you got a vehicle that's got a lot of miles on it, more of something you working, you may decide just to order some good seat covers that you can put on yourself on a vehicle and have it to where the seats look good again. But that cracked console that you have, or either that little crack on the dash, or that these little items that you can have on a lot of cars, after a period of time, sometimes you can fix items like that and almost kind of fall back in love with the car because you're not looking at these little things that bother you about the vehicle every day. So if you do have some items in the upholstery area that need to be repaired, consider going in, talking to a good upholstery shop, and having the things. It might even be your carpet. The carpet might be dirty or messed up. Consider going ahead and having new carpet put on there. So those are things that will that you want to think about as you're making that decision. Okay, we need to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after these messages. And we do welcome you back to the C&C Auto Show. If you have a question about your car, truck, or your SUV, you give us a call, 800-224-9090. You can watch or listen to the show on your favorite social media platform by going to ccautoshow.com. We do have a tech tip quiz laying on the table, and I'm going to read the question again. Bill works in construction and drives a 2020 Chevy 1500 truck. He lives out in the country, about 45 minutes from the city. He's found that he consistently gets better fuel mileage driving into town to go to the gym than he does driving into town to go to work. Why? If you know the answer, give us a call. We will go over and visit Dylan. And is this my friend Dylan in Florida?
This is your friend Dylan in Florida.
Fantastic. How are you doing today?
We're doing great. It's it's like the Amazon down here in the summertime, so we're all just hiding out in our air-conditioned concrete bunkers and letting the tourists have the state. So come on down, and we value family, community, and your vacation dollars.
That takes care of the taxes. Dylan, what can I help with today?
You got it. I've got a 2009 Honda Odyssey. You and I talked about this a little bit before. I had replaced the power steering pump with a used Honda power steering pump because it was making a lot of noise.
Mm-hmm.
I've replaced those gasket seals, the O-ring seals. I've replaced the power steering reservoir, which actually was gunked up at one point, that silkscreen filter.
Mm-hmm.
And this pump is back to making more noise than I like again. And I guess my question is this just what comes with the age of a vehicle, or is this making too much noise? Do I need to replace the pump? How is air getting into the system and causing this noise if it is? I'm just trying to troubleshoot this again.
Well, I do know that O-ring that I mentioned to you, there's actually a bulletin on that, and that gives me a chance to mention to people the difference between a bulletin and a technical bulletin and a recall. A lot of times when I say the word bulletin, somebody thinks, well, that's free, then I can take it back and get it done free. But a bulletin, it just means it's an item issued from the manufacturer saying, hey, we've had some problems with these over a certain amount of time, and if your car is doing this, this, and this, it might be this or this. And, of course, in your case, we looked it up, and it had to do with a special O-ring on the line that goes to the pump. We've ran into a fair amount of those that made it to where it would make the whining noise when you first crank the vehicle up, because it would pull air in and aerate the fluid and make the whining noise. But you've already, and if I'm not mistaken, you did put the factory O-ring on that. Is that right?
I did get Honda O-rings, yeah.
Okay, good. So if you did that, and I'm assuming without question your power steering fluid is at the full mark.
Yeah, it's between the high and the low. It's not at the full, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And does it have the noise all the time, or just when it's cold, or just when it's hot?
It does. It seems to have it all the time. I mean, we're out on the highway. We're not hearing a constant droning sound, but you're not really turning much out there anyway.
Okay. So it changes when you turn the steering wheel. You can actually hear the pump making the noise as you're moving the wheel, or it does it all the time?
Yeah, it's louder when you're moving the wheel, but when you first crank up the vehicle, I mean, you can definitely hear a groaning sound.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, you just want to isolate and be absolutely sure that you are up against a power steering type noise, because many times you'll listen and you'll say, well, it's coming from that area. It sounds just like the power steering pump. And it turn out to be a pulley or something different on the front of the vehicle making the noise. But if you move the steering wheel, and I know you kind of know how to identify stuff like that pretty well. So if you're moving the steering wheel and you hear it change tones and you hear it coming from that, high probability that it is. Many times I do like to use a stethoscope on the system to isolate it and make absolutely sure that it is that. But again, moving the wheel, changing tones lets me know that it probably is. So with that, is this loud enough to where you can actually sit in the vehicle and hear the noise?
Yeah, if you're sitting in there and like I said, you crank it up. I mean, you can sit there and hear a low sound that you haven't heard before.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to describe those sounds. You guys, you mechanics might all have a book that describes all these.
Well, actually, it's a recording. You're able to you click on different noises and it tells you on there. But I'm gonna mention one thing that I would look at very closely, Dylan, and that's to make sure that that the power steering line is not close to anything, especially things to do with the body. Because if that power steering line, you have a certain amount of vibration through that line anyway, because you got fluid going through there. And if that line is really close to anything on the body, that can make sort of like a humming type noise. Now, it won't normally make a whining noise, but it will be something you can kind of almost feel through the car. And that changes when you turn the wheel because, of course, the pressure through that line changes a lot when you do that. So I would make sure that the line is routed correctly, not touching or close to anything to do with the body. After that, I know what I would probably be doing if it was mine. I would go ahead and, just for the heck of it, move the fluid all the way to the total full mark with the engine warm. Just let it go all the way to the full. And then after that, I believe I would monitor it. I'm not sure unless it's loud. Then that way, as time goes on, I would be able to be sure, was it the pump itself doing that, and I would know if it is going to get louder. I mean, if it just stays the same for a long period of time and it's not getting any worse. It's very seldom that a power steering pump goes out and causes a problem on the road. But if it's getting down to where it is bothering you, high probability it would be the pump itself.
Okay. Can you talk just a second, if you have time, about maybe how you would troubleshoot with the stethoscope and just make sure that this is power steering? Because I feel like I've done that, but I'm always. Is there anything that I maybe hadn't thought of in terms of isolating it? Because like you said, it could be something else.
Absolutely. Now, there's something that a lot of automotive repair shops have, electronic ears. They made by Stillman. I can't remember the name of them. But they have electronic ears. And these electronic ears, it's a little bit more involved when you do them. You put little sensors around the car, and you got a little knob. You can say, well, I'm going to listen to this one. And it's like 5 or 6 different ones come in a box that we can listen around the car with microphones. Now, with something like you have, I would not use that. I would use a standard old-fashioned technician stethoscope, and all it is it looks like a regular stethoscope, but it's got a little rod that comes off the end of it, probably about 10 or 12 inches long. and you're able to point that at something or to hold it up against something like the power steering pump, like a pulley. And what I do when I'm listening for that type noise, you got to be very careful and remember, because you're going to be bending down, the engine's going to be running, and if a person does it and they got really long hair, it's not pretty. It don't come out good when you do that. So you don't want to do it if you have long hair. But in doing that, just touch each item and you'll hear the difference. But make sure you do several items. A lot of times you don't want to just do one and say, oh, I hear it, and quit. You want to go touch them all, because sometimes noises can transfer, and you might touch one and hurt it, but you touch another one that's even twice as loud. So it's very important when you're diagnosing a noise. Very good tool to have, and they're inexpensive. So you may decide to get one and just play around with it, but be careful.
Yeah, I did buy one actually because you had mentioned it, and I remember when I bought it, you said, "Now, Dylan, you have not lived until you have had your serpentine belt yank that thing off your head."
Yeah, that is a thrill you'll never forget. Hey.
Well, Aaron, thanks so much for all your help as usual. I really appreciate you.
Oh, Dylan, I always love a phone call from you, and have a great weekend. All right.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, that was Dylan, great friend. He lives in Florida, and he loves to work on his vehicles. And from time to time, he'll give me a call and ask different questions. It's time to pull over for a quick pit stop. And while I'm gone, you can be dialing 800-224-9090, ask the automotive question, or you can answer our tech tip quiz. We'll be right back after this. And I'm back with you with the C&C Auto Show, answering those automotive questions and sharing information. And we are going to move straight over to Mark. And Mark, welcome to the C&C Auto Show. And what can we help you with?
Hi, my name is Mike. First of all, great show, by the way. I've got a 2006 Chevy Silverado with a 4.3 V6. It's got a throttle body injection, and I had an ignition problem. What happened is I was driving down 95, and I had a load of firewood on the truck. The engine was kind of locked down a little bit, and it started to act like a bad plug wire on a wet day. It started to skip, and it shut off. I was able to finally get it home, and it actually quit when I got in my driveway. I started checking a few things. I put the coil water, turned it over. There was no fire out of the coil.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I decided to put a new ignition control module because I had the same issue years ago. So I put the new ignition control module in because that cured it the last time. And also I put a new cap and rotor on the distributor while I was at it, new air cleaner, plugs, everything. Anyway, I turned it over. I had fire out of the coil. I figured I fixed it. I drove the truck for about 70 miles, and I had the exact same symptom. When the engine got a little bit under load, it started to sputter, and it quit.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. I opened the hood, pulled the coil wire, no juice out of the coil. So at that point, I got a brand new ignition coil. I always disconnect the battery, put a new coil in, fired it up. It had spark, it ran good for another 70 miles. Same thing. And so at that point, I thought, well, the next logical thing is the pickup coil in the distributor. I have two really good mechanic friends of mine, and they agreed that would be the next step. So I got a brand new distributor, put that in. It ran beautiful for about 70 or 80 miles, and the same thing. After that, I thought the next logical thing would be the crank sensor. I took off the old crank sensor. I put the new one on, and, I spaced it properly as you're supposed to. And pretty much the same issue. When the engine is under a slight amount of load, it'll start to skip and sputter. Again, it feels like a bad plug wire on a rainy day, and it will just shut off, and then there's no spark. Through every time that I did get the truck running, I took it to Advanced Auto and AutoZone, and I had checked for codes. I was getting emissions type codes. However, after the last fix, after I put the new crank sensor in, I took it and I was getting Lean Bank 1 and Lean Bank 2 codes. And just for the heck of it, I did a fuel pump pressure test, and it checked out perfect. When I turned the key on, it immediately to 60 psi. It took 25 minutes, and it bled down to 40 psi. And then I started the truck, and it held steady at 60 psi for like 5 minutes. I shut it off, and it took 30 minutes at that point for the pressure to bleed down to 55. So I feel that I have totally eliminated the possibility that this is a fuel issue at this point. But like I said, up until the time that I changed the crank sensor, every time it would completely lose spark out of the coil. And I've been a mechanic for years. I was a Chevrolet mechanic in the 1980s. And I'm embarrassed to say I can't figure this out.
Oh, well, it sounds like you've done a lot of really good things, and it kind of makes it to where I don't have to go as far as trying to ask a lot of questions. But basically, the crank sensor wasn't a bad thought process. Some of the other things wasn't bad things to do. It don't sound like you've got into any kind of major expense on doing things, which is really good. In far as the next step, though, what you do want to determine is what you're missing when it won't start. Now, of course, one of the things some vehicles can be missing would have to do with timing, but timing is not going to just go away after 70 miles consistently and then come back. So we can kind of eliminate the timing aspect on this car. Some cars with variable timing, weird things are possible, but on this particular vehicle, we can eliminate timing. So you're either losing fuel or you're losing spark. Now, while the vehicle won't start, that's what you want to try to find out which one you're losing. The car cuts off, and if I'm not mistaken, you say it cuts off and won't restart. Is that right?
No, well, yes, but here's the thing. I pull the coil wire to check for spark. Every time it has failed, after I put a new part in, I get fire out of the coil. I plug the coil wire back. It was beautiful for about maybe 60 to 80 miles, and then it starts to hesitate. When I put the engine under load, it'll start to hesitate, shut off. I'll pull a coil wire, turn it over, and there's no spark out of the coil. Every time it completely shuts off, I pull the coil wire, turn it over, there's no fire out of the coil. So whatever's causing this seems to not be allowing juice to come out of the coil.
Okay.
But then when I put a new part in, it acts like okay, great, I finally got it fixed. And then, like I said, it runs for about 70 or 60 to maybe 80 miles. And then as soon as I put a little load on the engine, that's when it starts to sputter, shuts off. And if it doesn't start, then I open the hood, pull the coil wire, turn it over, and there's no spark.
Okay. You may have a map sensor or a coolant temp sensor or something. Is the check engine light on the vehicle when it's running?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, it'll run great without the light, but every time I've gotten a light, I have took it to AutoZone or Advanced Auto and got it scanned. And the only codes I was getting were emission type codes. And then after I put the crank sensor in, I was getting a slightly different code that said Lean Bank 1, Lean Bank 2. But then after that, like I said, that's when I did the fuel pressure test. And even the service manager at the Chevrolet dealership that I know, he said, yeah, he said your fuel pressure test is showing okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay. I would look real close at the parameters. Now, the next step on the vehicle, without question, is to put a dealer grade or a manufacturer grade scan tool to it. You can use it. You can try reading some of your parameters with just a cheaper code reader that may read parameters, but really you need a regular computer to hook to the vehicle and be able to read all the parameters coming out. You may have something along the lines of a MAP sensor, mass airflow sensor, coolant temperature sensor that may be within the parameters of what the computer looks for, but it may be way off. For instance, a coolant temp sensor, the computer's only looking for something that might read like 20 below zero or something, and in respect, that one might be reading zero or either 110 degrees or something. So you got a perimeter off somewhere, and I would recommend going ahead instead of taking a chance on putting a lot of parts on you don't need, going ahead and having the system diagnosed. Okay, and sorry, we're out of time. And if any other questions or if you come up with things, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna pick up and just make sure you're okay after the show.
Is there an email address?
Yeah, that'd be great. Go to ccautoshow.com and just contact me, and we'll talk more on there. Okay, we have to. We're out of time. Time clock's on E. We'll see you more and answer more questions next week on the C&C Auto Show.